The Northern March. A North March was created out of the division of the vast Marca Geronis in 965. It initially comprised the northern third of the Marca and was part of the territorial organization of areas conquered from the Wends.A Lutician rebellion in 983 reversed German control over the region until the establishment of the March of Brandenburg by Albert the Bear in the 12th century. Slavic background. During the migration period, many Germanic peoples began migrating towards the Roman frontier. In the northeast they were replaced primarily by Slavic peoples. The first Slavs were certainly in the Brandenburg area by 720, after the arrival of the Avars in Europe. These Slavs had come via Moravia, where they had arrived in the mid-7th century. The remnants of the Germanic Semnoni were absorbed into these Slav groups. The group of people who settled at the Spree River became known as Spravani. They settled east of the line formed by the Havel and other rivers, in the current Barnum and Teltow regions. They built the main fortification at the confluence of the Spree and the Dama rivers at Köpenick. The Heveli lived west of the line in the current Haveland and Zouch regions. They were named Hebeli for the ancient Germanic name of the river, Habila. The name for themselves was the Stodrani. They built the main fortification at Brenna. The Heveli also built a large outpost at the current site of Spandau Citadel in Berlin. The Spravani and Heveli not only waged war against the German, but also the Slav neighbors. History of the Northern March. After the Saxon War of 808, the victorious Charlemagne bestowed on the Slavic tribes allied with him part of the Saxon lands between the Elbe and the Baltic Sea. A period of quiet followed in the region. The bishoprics of Brandenburg and Heidelberg were established around 940 and the Christianization of the pagan Slavs began. Henry I of Germany conquered Brandenburg in 928 to 929 and imposed tribute upon the tribes up to the Oder. By 948 his son Otto I had established German control over the many remaining pagans, who were collectively referred to as Slavs or Wends by contemporaries. Slavic settlements such as Brenna, Budishin, and Chodbaz came under German control through the installation of margraves. The main function of the margravial office was to defend and protect the marches of the Kingdom of Germany. After the death of the Margrave Gero the Great in 965, the vast collection of marches was divided by Otto into 5 smaller commands. The Northern March was one of these. The others were the Eastern March, the March of Mersburg, the March of Meissen, and the March of Zeitz. The rebellion of 983, initiated by the Lutici, led to a factual disestablishment of the Northern and Belung marches as well as the corresponding bishoprics, though titular margraves and bishops were still appointed, until the collapse of the Lutici alliance in the middle of the 11th century. The German expansion in the direction of the Northern March remained at a standstill and the Wends east of the Elbe remained independent for approximately 150 years. March of Brandenburg. In the beginning of the 12th century, the German kings re-established control over the mixed Slav-inhabited lands on the eastern borders of the Holy Roman Empire. In 1134, in the wake of the Wendish Crusade of 1147, the German magnate Albert the Bear was granted the Northern March by the Emperor Lothair III. The Slavs were subsequently assimilated by German settlers during the Aussiedlung. The Church under Albert established dioceses, which with the walled towns protected the townspeople from attack. With the arrival of monks and bishops begins anew the recorded history of the town of Brandenburg. from which would develop the eponymous Margraviate. Albert's control of the region was nominal for several decades, but he engaged in a variety of military and diplomatic actions against the Wends, and saw his control become more real by the middle of the century. In 1150, Albert formally inherited Brandenburg from its last heavily ruler, the Christian Pribislav. Albert and his Ascanian descendants made considerable progress in Christianizing the captured lands. List of Margraves. The Margraves of the Nordmark were closely related to both the Counts of Stade, many holding dual titles, and the Counts of Warbeck. The early counts and margraves were discussed by Thietmar of Mersburg, a descendant of the original rulers. The German Wikipedia article Markgrave von der Nordmark is an excellent source of information on the margraves. Dietrich 965–983, possibly the son of Wichman the Elder, an early Count of Stade. Lothair I 983–1003, the first margrave of the House of Warbeck, and was son of Lothar II the Old, Count of Warbeck. Werner 1003–1009, son of the previous and cousin of Thietmar of Mersburg. Bernard 1009–1051, son of Dietrich. William 1051–1056, son of the previous. Otto 1056–1057, illegitimate son of Bernard. Lothair Udo I 1056–1057, also Count of Stade, first of the House of Udonids, and son of Siegfried II, Count of Stade. Lothair Udo II 1057–1082, also Count of Stade, son of the previous. Henry I the Long 1082–1087, also Count of Stade, son of the previous. Lothair Udo III 1087–1106, also Count of Stade, brother of the previous. Rudolf I 1106–1112, also Count of Stade, brother of the previous. Helprich von Plotzkau 1112–1114, non-dynastic, but part of the House of Walbeck as grandson of Conrad, Count of Walbeck. Henry II 1114–1128, son of Lothair Udo III. Udo IV 1128–1130, son of Rudolf I. Conrad 1130–1133, son of Helprich. Rudolf II 1133–1134, son of Rudolf I and the last of the House of Udonids. Albert the Bear 1134–1170. Under Albert, the March was expanded with the acquisition of Slavic lands around Brandenburg in 1157. The expanded March became a hereditary possession of Albert's house, the Ascanians, and was called the March of Brandenburg. For a list of margravines, see List of consorts of Brandenburg.